Okay, ready? Okay, well, Commissioner, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for coming and being with us. And as you know, we only have a few rules. One of them is 30-minute time limit, so all the candidates know that they get the same amount of time. And it goes without saying that we're on the record if we're videoing this. And the fourth member of our editorial board is Chris Silken. He's behind the camera there. We have Harriet Heithaus and Brett Batt. We're inviting the candidate to review his or her background and then tell us why you're running for this office at this time, and then we'll start asking the questions.
Great. My background is I had a small business, a marketing consulting business that I started in 1992. In 2000, I ran for the Fort Myers City Council, was elected, served until 2004 when I ran for the Lee County Commission. It was a special election, so I served 2 years and then ran again in 2006. And here I am back again, desirous of having the privilege of holding the office for another 4 years. Running for office is always a challenge, but I think each of us makes a difference in what we do. I've always served on many nonprofit boards. I've been a big volunteer in our community. I've lived here since 1978. And I really feel strongly that serving at this chair in the political arena is the best way for me to serve the community. I worked on a lot of programs in community planning, transportation, worked with Florida Association of Counties to change legislation to ensure that the Caloosahatchee can stay clean and the opportunity for the environment to find a balance with all the growth that we're having. And you can do that through chambers of commerce and other organizations, or you can do it as an elected official. And I believe that my skill set provides for me an opportunity to make a difference as an elected official.
Any particular reason why you're seeking re-election this time? Any special projects you want to make sure get finished, or is there any special on the agenda out there?
Absolutely, growth management. The heart and soul of Lee County is going to be the decisions that we make over the next 4 years will really predicate what our county is going to look like. And we have a very, very special county out of the 67 counties. We have everything. We have beautiful bridgeless islands. We have beautiful rural communities, suburban communities, trying to identify our urban areas and our urban nodes. We cannot pave our way out of growth, and I think that we have to truly get together and be innovative and have a community that can protect all of those vital assets that we have and still have a community that offers strong economic opportunities for the students that are leaving Florida Gulf Coast University, an opportunity for us not to be completely dependent on construction and tourism, but to look at research. A lot of exciting things going on in that area right now. So I want to kind of finish what I started and what I believe is going to be the palette, if you will, what Lee County is going to look like, what happens over the next 4 years.
What does your record look like for alternatives to tourism and construction?
Well, right now it's looking pretty good. I supported the incentive program that we started 2 years ago. We work very closely with the state, but just like any government, bureaucracy kind of makes it difficult for the private sector to engage. And so having our own incentive has been very helpful to sort of grab these companies and then let Enterprise Florida kind of catch up with us. We have currently brought in right around 8 or 9 new businesses into Lee County that are in manufacturing or research. The Alginol project that we supported on Alico Road has created such a synergy for that area we're now looking at, and I sort of coined the phrase research diamond. North Carolina has a research triangle. Lee County is going to have a research diamond. We have the wonderful international airport to the north with the Madden Group working on a high-tech, innovative office park. You have Alginol to the west. You have the IHAB, a 200-acre research and development park that's being developed by Rich Cavano and John Bakke to the east, and you have Florida Gulf Coast University to the south. That whole corridor and the interest that we're getting in that corridor, just by putting Alginol there, spurred a number of other companies who are doing similar research. I was in Orlando last week talking to another algae renewable energy company about relocating. We'll be meeting with them more throughout the month of July. So even companies that are doing the same thing, different patents, are looking to be sort of close to each other. So I'm very excited about what's happening in that area.
How's the Red Sox project coming along?
Fantastic. Bids are coming in less than we expected. We just approved the first $8 million portion of that contract, and that is really to do all the site clearing and break ground with all of that. The final contract, which will actually be the construction contract, will come back to us probably sometime in September with final bids, but bids are coming in very, very well. We should be closing on our bond by the end of September. So again, the bond is, the tourist development tax is pledged to pay that bond, so the balance of the monies that we've done internally will be paid back before the end of the budget year. So we're very excited about that. It's moving very well.
How are relations these days with communities to the south, specifically San Carlos, Estero, and Bonita? As good as they should be?
You know, we always have to work on our relationships. The city of Bonita Springs has been a great partner. Mayor Nelson and the council work very well with us. When I was chair in 2006, I initiated that we reach out to all the cities once a year and have a joint meeting with them. Most of the cities have agreed to do that, and we do that. Sometimes we meet twice, depending on what the issues are. Most recently with Bonita Springs, we haven't really had that many issues, which is kind of nice. Everything seems to be clicking right along.
They're working with you on the bus.
Yep, working with us on the bus, working with us on a lot of other projects with dealing with environmental issues. The community of San Carlos, they've got a great civic association, so spend a lot of time with them working on little challenges that they have in their community. So right now it seems like we're clicking along, and if we do have issues, we're able to come together, communicate, and address them.
Maybe so we don't have enough money to spend to get in trouble.
I don't know if it's not enough money, but maybe everybody working together is causing us not to have so many issues. Maybe it's more about that.
Does the county have, or does it need to have, contingency plans for the oil spill? Not so much that the oil spill even gets to Lee County beaches, but to let people know that you're open for business.
Absolutely. We are reaching out to the state of Florida, asking for an additional $1 million to promote Lee County, the beaches of Southwest Florida, of Fort Myers and Sanibel, to let the world know that we are open for business. People look at the Panhandle and they don't know where the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel are. So we're on a mission. We're right now, this week, we're filming actual people vacationing right now on our beaches and getting that on the internet, getting 10-second spots out. So we are letting people know that our beaches are pristine, they're beautiful, and come down. We want to make sure that you have a great vacation. We're not going to let you, we're going to tell you if we have issues. We're not going to let you get here and then tell you later. So we're daily going to be sending out images to show that the beaches are clean and ready for visitors to come and enjoy our area.
Under the previous county manager, Mr. Stillwell, we heard about, I believe it was called, his concept was levels of service, or was a baseline level of service. Was it called levels of service?
Core service.
Core service. And if a neighborhood wanted more than that base level, then they paid a premium. Am I right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Is that concept still alive? Is the new administration continuing that, or?
Well, I think what was difficult for people to understand is what was core service. So where is your baseline, and then what is above it? And even as a county commissioner, every year when we did our strategic planning, my question was, what is core service? And that question really was never answered for the last 5 years. What I really applaud Karen Haas doing is reaching out to the community. We did a large survey that came back last January, and we simply asked the community, what do you feel is core service? What are the services that you want your county government to provide for you, and what priority? Because we're going to have to cut. We're going to have to look at everything. And we had great response on that survey, and that has been sort of, if you will, the guiding principle of how we're going to restructure, so that when someone says, what's a core service, I can actually articulate that without saying, well, I think. And we want the community to be able to look to their neighbors and say, oh, I know what core services is. That I can put it on my website and people can actually understand what that means. So that is a work in progress. It's fluid right now, and we're ratcheting down with a lot of dialogue with our department heads. We're looking at the partners that we have, the civic associations. They're all participating in this. So I believe that by budget, we will have a much more defined core level of service. And when you say that residents pay more for that premium,
Yes.
yeah, most of what that was about was additional lighting. You know, we have a lot of county private roads, which means they're not county maintained roads. They have not been paved, or if they have been paved, they've been paved by the residents. And if those roads want to come into the county standards, then the county will take them over, but the residents must pay to get them up to our level of a standard, and then we will in perpetuity then take care of them. But there is a fee, if you will, that goes out for those residents. They have to vote on it. And that usually is where core level of service kicks in, where there's a premium being paid by the neighborhood or those residents, or additional lights than what would be normally put out there.
Would that refer to sewer and sanitary?
No, sewer and water and sewer are not general fund projects. They come under utilities, which is an enterprise fund. If very rarely do we have people volunteer to go on sewer and water. And normally, again, you look at infrastructure as, if you're rural areas, very rarely do you run water and sewer lines because you have such low density and very little commercial that you don't need them there. But when you look at areas like Lehigh Acres and you look at areas like Cape Coral, those are areas that infrastructure should be because they're really relatively urban. And of course, there's a premium. Now, the way Lee County Utilities does that and the other utility companies, which are city-owned or privately, are very much night and day. And so there is always a fee to hook up. So yes, if the lines run there, the state requires mandatory hookup to wastewater, but you are not mandatory to hook up to water lines that come out your way. It's voluntary.
You mentioned, can we go back to the research diamond a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
What tools did the county use to attract those firms? Is it direct cash payments, tax incentives, zoning concessions? What sorts of things?
For Algernon, it was a direct cash. What's happening now is, now that we're looking at this diamond, we're trying to determine if we should do similar to what Collier County's done with the innovative districts or TIF districts, which means that you can provide tax rebates back to if they're purchasing their site. In other words, they're not just leasing from the developer. There is infrastructure needs that need to go in there. We would like to widen and extend Alico Road all the way up to Lehigh. Mm-hmm. It's 82. We would like to take 951 from Alico to Corkscrew and get that segment of 951 done. But for the most part, it has been predominantly the cash incentive and the fact that when you get the first one, the others want to be around. So there's lots of different ways to incentivize them beyond just here's cash.
Is it long enough yet to do an analysis to determine if the cash spent has been a good investment in terms of job return? Well,
Algernon's not even open yet. They're probably the company that would open the fastest because they went into space that was already existing and they're building it out. Their labs, they're in the process of hiring right now. So I would say we'd probably need to wait about 6 or 7 months yet. They haven't even actually opened yet, but they're probably fast tracking.
As early as that, you feel like you can get a good read on whether or not it's...
We already have. We already have 4 or 5 other companies just because Algernon's there call. I was in Washington, D.C., and the fact that we have Algernon, that they're working with federal grants, I mean, there's a buzz in D.C. about what Algernon's doing. That buzz created another company who is already in the process of creating jet fuel from algae, which is different what Algernon's doing. And if their process comes to fruition, which they're looking at before the end of the year, it's going to change the country. So they're looking at relocating in Lee County as well. So we have a lot of opportunities that companies that, because I happened to stumble across them when we got talking about Algernon, they said, we'd like to look at Southwest Florida. So they were down last week looking at different sites.
Do you think they'll expect the same sort of cash contributions?
No.
They'll just come because
we'll be working with them. We'll be working with them in some capacity, but the same type of incentive as Algernon had. The answer is no, because we've already had that discussion with them.
Why would they want to come to Fort Myers, other than it's a cool place? But why not Orlando or Miami or Tampa, where they could sell more jet fuel?
It's not about the. You can take your jet fuel and sell it anywhere. So yes, they'll sell it across the country. They won't just sell it here in Florida. But secondly, it's quality of life. Do you want to live in an area that has no beaches and has high traffic concentration and costs a little bit more to live, or you can live in Southwest Florida where you have the Gulf of Mexico, beautiful quality of life, still great education.
Mm-hmm.
So
Red Sox,
Minnesota Twins. Let's not forget our partners in the Twins. And who knows, maybe that third baseball team will be here by then as well. So, again, our whole campaign has been this time around with Office of Economic Development is who do we have here now that's vacationing here? Do you want to move your company here? So people already like Southwest Florida. And you're right, these CEOs, when they're downsizing, because most corporations are downsizing, they're looking at, if I've got my second home here, do I really need 2 houses? And when you have to make that decision, do I go back up north or do I come here? It's like, I'm right at that age in the 50s where, I'm going to just come here and I can read my business here. We are the most affordable place in the country to live with this kind of quality of life. So I'm very appreciative of being able to make some lemonade out of the lemons I was given through the foreclosure debacle.
Can you tell us more about that?
Which part?
The lemons and the...
I think that when we can talk to CEOs about their employees being able to buy key single-family homes that were at one time selling for $500,000 for about $200,000, and these are homes that have 3 bedrooms. Most of them do have young families. It's a very, very attractive. These are homes that have water access in areas that probably 5 years ago these families would not even be able to consider. They would probably have had to go into a condominium or something along those lines or be inland. So we have wonderful opportunities in every lifestyle option, whether you want to be in a rural area, whether you want that condo on the river, whether you want the golf course gated community, or whether you want to be in a traditional single family neighborhood. All those options are on the table in a variety of price ranges. So again, we're going to take advantage of those opportunities and let CEOs and let people know around the world, you've got great opportunity for affordable housing right now. And interest rates couldn't be better. I don't control those, but I think it was, 4.5 something, I think was the 30-year fix this morning.
What's new with the City of Palms Park? What can you tell us about that?
The swim
and
center.
The swimming thing. And
yeah. Well, the swim center is doing their due diligence right now. There's some challenges there because the City of Fort Myers owns the 2 grass lots on each side of the stadium.
Right.
The county owns the stadium. The county does not have the debt. The city has the debt. So you cannot just sell the stadium, nor do we want to. But if they're going to try and leverage, if you will, like they were trying to do in Cape Coral, commercial uses in addition to you have a debt on that property, so that debt needs to be paid off because you don't have any collateral per se. So they're going to be a little challenged in making the finances work. But in the meantime, our interlocal with them and our letter of understanding with them is that we would not enter negotiations with anyone else. But that does not mean that I'm not talking to other interested parties, that if this does not work out, that we can go forward. And even if it does work out, we still don't have to go forward with a swim facility. This is truly an exercise in seeing, is this the highest and best use of the Red City of Palms facility to convert it to a swim center, or are we better off maintaining and continuing dialogue with baseball teams?
Or football.
Or football, which we know here in the U.S. as soccer.
Well, we also might know it at Florida Gulf Coast University as football.
Florida Gulf Coast University has not expressed any interest in that stadium as being available for football. First of all, it's not large enough for them, I wouldn't think. It's only got it's about 7,000 seats, and I would think that they would want something a little larger and located a little closer to their campus, which I know right now that they, with the expansion and the 40 acres that they're being donated by Alico West, is probably where they're going to look for their new stadium to be located, rather than having students drive all the way into downtown Fort Myers to see football. So I don't think, and believe me, I'm working daily with President Bradshaw on some other projects, and never once have they expressed any interest in City of Palms for a football stadium. I would just think it would be a disconnect for them.
What are the other projects?
Well, we're working on their research facility. We've been lobbying for dollars for them. They have been given, donated on the iHub site on Alico property to build a research facility. John Bakke endowed a research chair to a tune of $1 million. So we've been helping them with their grant requests and supporting their grant requests to get that facility built. Again, there's another component to the interest level that research folks have in this whole diamond. So, again, getting them up and running is very important to us. So we're on their team to continue to support them in Tallahassee and in Washington, D.C. for additional funding.
When talking to candidates for different offices, state offices especially, we hear, and it seems to be fairly apparent that there's a certain anti-incumbent sentiment among the populace. Do you feel that filtering down to the county commission level at all?
I have not felt that filtering down to me personally. I think that local government is the closest government to the people. They sort of, you're at the meat counter and they stop and chat with you, so I'm picking up my nephews from school and you see the parents and people talk to you. So we're not disconnected. Even though our representatives live here, there is a disconnect because you don't get to see them at work. People get to see me at work every single week and then some. My schedule in functions and speaking engagements is very heavy. So for me, I spend a great deal of time in the community, but I've always done that since I've lived here. From the time I moved here in '78, I've always been a big volunteer and very involved in various organizations. So I've always been a part of this community. And I think when you become an elected official, you need to remain a part of your community, because isn't that why you ran? I don't think you can sit downtown and feel you have a perspective on what's happening in Bonita Springs if you never come down to Bonita Springs. How do you know what's going on in Boca Grande if you don't go and interact with the different organizations and different functions? One of my favorite things is Community Club on Boca Grande. We do spaghetti dinner all through season, so I'll come down and serve and do that every other month and just get the chance to talk to the residents out there. I'd love to have that time to just go spend the weekend out there. The same thing up on Usepa and Upper Captiva. You've got to get yourself out there to understand the different components of this community. We're a very integrated, complex community with very different issues. People in Boca Grande's issues are not the same issues that I have in San Carlos, per se.
Where do they have the spaghetti dinners?
Right there at the
Boca
Crown
Grande?
and Shield House. It's
Really?
a fundraiser for them. They do scholarships for local island kids.
This has some pretty good wine.
You have to bring your own. We don't serve wine.
Well, I bet you some pretty good wine gets brought up.
But it's a wonderful community event, and again, the proceeds of the spaghetti dinner help fund college scholarships for the island children, which is wonderful because, believe it or not, the residents, full-time residents on Boca Grande are not necessarily the same as the snowbirds on Boca Grande.
One of the most, if not the case, at least the most visible problems that I see, it seems to deal with drugs coming through Fort Myers and Lee County. And I'm wondering, is there something that you think needs to be done, more of an effort in that area?
I think that as soon as you hit, there seems to be a threshold where crime becomes a much more talked about issue. And it seems when a community hits that 500,000 mark, you seem to have more access to the reports. You still have crime under that, but I don't think it's not as talked about as much. Sheriff Scott and Chief Baker work very close together on some of the challenges that you see in the city of Fort Myers, and of course then how that translates into Lee County as a whole. We have some excellent, professional, knowledgeable folks that combat that on a daily basis on behalf of our residents. I have always supported our public safety budgets because there's a lot of things we don't hear about. But when you go in, the city of Fort Myers and the sheriff are both on CompStat. So we can easily, on any given day, go in and see exactly what's going on out there. And so I do that on a regular basis and go in and see not only for District 4, the kinds of crimes that are being occurred and what those are and how they relate to past, now, and what they're projecting. And I look at the whole county as a whole. So that never goes away. You don't ever have an end, like, oh, we'll never have drugs. Oh, we'll never have burglaries. Oh, we'll never have all the other tragedies that occur. Unfortunately, that's human nature. But how we deal with that and how we protect and try to avoid and have a proactive approach to that, I think is extremely important. And I'm very proud of the work that Sheriff Scott's done. Chief Baker and I work together on the City of Fort Myers City Council. And I think the City of Fort Myers made an excellent choice in promoting Doug Baker to chief. And I think they work very, very diligently and well on behalf of the citizens. And we need to just constantly stay proactive.
What does the future look like in terms of taxation, impact fees? That's got to be more challenging than ever.
Impact fees are probably, I've had many people ask me, will you alleviate impact fees? And the answer is no. We have a lot of vacancy in what's been built. Everyone who built paid impact fees. They had to pay those charges. They're working to get a square foot cost that will help, nobody wants to lose money on their development. If I eliminate impact fees and allow more to be built and have more inventory online, let's just say someone built, let's just say you weren't full and you had $18 a square foot for your space and the guy next door to you didn't have to pay impact fees and he could charge $12 a square foot. That's not really fair. So my position has been that we're not going to raise impact fees. We'll continue to go forward and assess them. If we can reduce them, we'll reduce them, because that's what it's required to do. If the number is supposed to go up, I'll support keeping them the same. So that's my position on impact fees. On the budget, because I see we're down to 5 minutes. On the budget issue, right now, the legislature really did local government a disservice by tax reform. Because whether we're in, let's just say we had great values going on right now, and just out of, let's just say my millage is 3 mills, and I had great values, and ooh, that 3 mills is bringing in $100,000 more than I brought in last year. Well, I can't do that. Tax reform says you are only allowed to take in exactly what you took in the year before. So I need to lower my millage and take in that same I took in last year, and then I can adjust the millage to account for population increase and cost of living. So there lies, if you will, the ceiling for the millage. Now in down years, you're rolling up.
Mm-hmm.
I can only take in. So last year, Lee County government chose to keep our millage the same, and we took a $92 million hit. I can never recapture that $92 million, ever. So we have a projected decrease of about 15% in real estate values, which is about $36 million. So if I don't roll up to take in what I took in last year, on top of the $92 million I lost, I'll lose an additional $36 million. That will put me into revenues of less than my 2002 year. Now, by not raising the millage and taking the $92 million hit, we gave everyone a tax decrease last year. So in the Lee County portion, obviously you saw your values less. If I roll up to make up for that $36 million, your taxes should stay the same, unless your values went down, then you'll see a little bit of a decrease. So that's going to be the debate during budget as to whether we roll up. Because for us to lose that full $36 million, we can never recover from that. You just can't.
Oh.
And it's going to be very, and the hard part is communicating this.
Mm-hmm.
Because people don't understand tax reform. They didn't understand what happened in the legislature 2 years ago when they did tax reform. They don't understand that when things are good, I can't leave my millage the same and make that up. I never can make that up again. If that was the case, I would go ahead and take the hit, because I know in 4 or 5 years I would eventually get back there. But I can't get back there in 4 or 5 years. I can never get back there. And with the growth coming in, I can't afford to drop so low where I can never, cost of living and population increase will never get me back to where I need to keep my core services. So tax reform has really kind of caused unintended challenges for local governments. And I don't know how you communicate that to the mass population, in that rolling up is not a bad thing, and it's not a tax increase, certainly not a tax decrease, but not a tax increase, and that in order for us to provide the services. And I think the bigger challenge for us is going to be to show the community that we're as mean and lean as we possibly can, that we do not have, that we've looked at every single budget area and feel that we have put the right people, the right numbers, and that the dollar you're putting in is a value of the dollar you're getting out. And I think that's going to be our bigger challenge. And if we can get there, I don't think anyone minds paying $1 and having that value of $1 coming back to them.
Going back to impact fees, what about the shopping center that's now sitting empty that a developer paid impact fees on?
Right.
And if someone wants to try to do a startup business, should that person be allowed to not pay the same impact fee twice? In other words,
well, they don't have to pay it twice. Why would they have to pay it twice?
well, okay.
There's no impact fee on redevelopment projects. There's no impact fee on startup businesses. Once the construction is done, the impact fee is on the new development, not on what goes in that development. There is no impact fee on the development that goes in there.
Okay, so if
you're a small business, hopefully we can help you with some venture capital.
okay.
There's some grants out there that we're working with Enterprise Florida and the state of Florida on startup capital, and there's a lot going on right now with venture capital, and our Industrial Development Authority has some small micro loans that we're trying to capture that small business who has 20 or less employees. You know, America is built on the entrepreneur and small business, and we want Lee County to be able to support that. And again, being a small business owner myself, I recognize the challenges that 1 or 2 person offices have.
Two-part question. Is the Stillwell matter behind you?
Yes.
And how is the county manager doing?
Phenomenal. very proud of her. She's taking the bull by the horns. People don't like change. She's stirring it up. We needed that. It was time to get some breath of fresh air, and she is certainly a breath of fresh air. I hope you'll take time to have her come down and chat with y'all.
Oh, yes, she already has.
I'm very impressed with
Great.
Karen.
We'll do it again. Our time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. What I was stumbling on there was